Hello fellow travelers, Donna Spencer, Lucre Journey, here with another port review. Today we're going to go over the port of St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. St. Thomas is a gateway island to the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's also known as a great beach and snorkeling spot. The territorial capital, Charlotte Amalie, was founded by the Danish in the 1600s and is a very busy and popular cruise ship port. Historic buildings include a 1697 watchtower, which is called Blackbeard's Castle, in reference to the island's pirate history. On the harbor, the 17th century Fort Christian is now a local museum. There is quite a bit to do at this port, but this is not one of those ports that you just walk off willy-nilly and have a whole bunch of fun at without spending quite a bit of money unless you plan things out. And speaking of money, this U.S. territory is just that, a U.S. territory. So it takes all U.S. major credit cards, it takes U.S. currency, and there is no bartering. You also, if you are a U.S. citizen, cannot get your passport stamped here. Once you start stepping off the ship, there are a number of individuals handing out these extremely colorful maps of the area. They're designed to give you a rough understanding of what's there, points of interest, and in general what's around you. A word of warning for those like myself and my husband who tend to deal with a lot more detailed maps. Because this map is just a general representation of the area with a rough scale sketch of what's around you, if you are used to having a lot more precise information, this map could end up being a source of frustration for you like it was for us, because they're, although colorful and with general information, we did not find it very helpful in the grand scheme of things. Almost all areas of interest are paved in some fashion. However, the pavement tends to be very uneven depending on where you go. And once you get out of the paved areas, the land is very, very hilly. Some would say quite steep in places, and the soil is really, really loose. There is a pharmacy called the Medicine Shoppy, S-H-O-P-P-E, Shoppy, that is within walking distance. It is on the southeast side of the Haversite Mall area, which is a short walk right off of the boat. There's a post office, shuttle service, or a bus. There is ATMs liberally spread about, and two of them are actually right outside a bar establishment called the Tap and Sill, which is an easy walk from the ship. There are also rental establishments, but it's kind of hit or miss as to whether or not they're going to be open for business while you're there. In order to rent a vehicle from the airport, which seems to be the establishment that is most regularly staffed, you have to get off the boat, get into a taxi, drive to the airport, then get the vehicle, and either continue on your way or come back and pick up the rest of your party. You reverse the process when you want to come back to the ship. There is a rental establishment that is listed right there next to the port terminal, but unfortunately we found out that it has been closed since COVID and it does not look like it's going to be opening anytime soon. So either way, there is a very strong possibility that you're going to end up taking a taxi to somewhere, which is a frustration in and of itself because the taxi prices have recently gone up. Now, granted, in regards to fuel usage and time and inflation, I understand the need to go up. The dilemma that my family and I ran into, or the group I was with and I ran into, was the fact that they don't inform you that the fares that you see listed are one way. And if you get out of the vehicle without a pre-arrangement with the driver, they can then charge you full price to take you back. And the way everything is situated in St. Thomas, almost all the points of interest are spread out around the island. So you have to travel to somewhere. Before you get into a taxi in St. Thomas, Make sure that you and the driver are of complete understanding as to where you want to go and how much it's going to cost. While I did not go into all the restrooms that I came across, there were a number of them and they were clearly marked. However, the ones at the very top of the mountain, which is a large variety souvenir shop, a bar with the world's only banana pina colada, I think, and a very scenic, very popular lookout point, they seem to be struggling. The staff worked to keep them very, very clean. However, you were not allowed to put your used paper in the toilet to be flushed. You did not flush it, and an attendant came in behind you and flushed the toilet by using a bucket of water. I thought it was kind of interesting that being at the highest point on the island, they seem to be having drainage issues way up there. But I'm not a plumber, so I'm sure that there's a reason behind it. However, water pressure for washing your hands was just fine, so I took full advantage of that after I utilized that restroom. Shopping is very bountiful at this port, with a lot of souvenir shops mingled in there, and you don't even have to go very far. If you go to the Haven Site Mall area, then you can hit a long double-sided alleyway there of stores. And there is a variety, of course. There's the jewelry stores, but the souvenir shops. However, I will warn you, unfortunately, enter the Casablanca store at your own risk, especially if you tend to be of a fluffier size. My husband and 2 other individuals were treated very poorly and were on the receiving end of the store owner's tirade about how the cruise ships are only out for themselves. They never help the little shops, that they seriously dislike anybody, beyond extra large tourists. I want to make sure I say that right. Beyond extra large tourists, and how clothing the obese costs more. These ended with the owner snatching shirts and yelling for individuals to get out of his store. Now, what was the trigger, you would ask, for such behavior? It was 3XL shirts having hidden fees that were not listed among all of the advertisement, and the question, do you take medallion pay? This was a Princess Cruise. We did find a very good sized general store called Cast and Carry West. Very similar to a Dollar Tree, had all kinds of things in it, directly across kind of kitty corner from the Wendy's. I don't know why I'm always surprised when I see the chain stores, but it makes perfect sense. It's a US port, for heaven's sakes. It makes perfect sense, but at the same time, it does tend to catch me off guard sometimes. Anyhow, but right across from the Wendy's, which we did happen to notice a couple cruise guests coming out of, so maybe they had to go to the bathroom there. We didn't care for St. Thomas, and I'm the first to admit that it was probably the negative experiences we had there that are clouding our judgment of the port. On top of the $150 in surprise taxi fees that we weren't aware we were going to be spending money on, and the shopkeeper that we ran into, the one out of all the many, the one that seemed to be having a very bad day, we also got caught in the rain. We didn't check the weather. That one was our fault, but we all got soaked. So I'm the first to admit that these things are probably clouding our judgment on the place. My husband and I decided that St. Thomas is not one of those ports that we are going to we're not going to avoid it completely, but we're definitely not going to be super quick to go on a cruise just because we get to go to that port again. No. See, I already screwed it up. Fort Christian, yeah. Fort Christian. Yeah, Fort Christian. All right, let's get this show on the road.